If you want to start using a notebook for productivity but don't know where to start, I think the number one thing you should do is a brain dump before anything else. A brain dump is basically just getting everything out of your head and onto paper. Like every task, idea, worry, or random thing that you need to remember without worrying about organizing or putting it in any particular order. And the important part is that you're not trying to do anything with these thoughts yet. You're just taking all those loose thoughts that are competing for your attention and putting them somewhere safe so your brain can desperately stop trying to hold on to them. And once they're on paper, it becomes much easier to see what actually needs your attention, what can wait, and what maybe doesn't need to be dealt with at all. Writing everything down clears some of that mental space and makes things feel much more manageable because you can actually see what you're dealing with instead of having this vague feeling that there's a lot of stuff that you need to take care of. And once you have everything down on paper, then you can start using your notebook for other things like interstitial journaling. You can look at your brain dump and pick out the things that you can or should be doing right now instead of trying to figure it out while you're still holding everything in your head. And as I've said in my last video, I've been using this one notebook for everything, and my brain dumps were getting buried in it, just mixed in with everything else. Every time I wanted to find what I still hadn't done, I had to flip through all sorts of other things to find that page. And my older list still had things on them that weren't finished, and I just didn't want to go hunting for them anymore. So I decided to give my brain dumps its own notebook, and that's what we're doing today. We're setting up this notebook, and while we're setting it up, I want to talk about a problem of brain dumps and my plan for solving that. But first, let's start with the notebook because it's a whole other problem of its own. First of all, this notebook is literally falling apart, you guys. And I wouldn't really care if it was just a scratch or something, but it's actually leaving little bits and pieces everywhere every time I pick it up, which is super annoying. I think this is just a notebook that maybe stayed in the shop for way too long. And of course, I'm not going to throw it away. That would be a huge waste. So I was trying to figure out what I could do about it. And the only thing that I could think of was covering it with some kind of self-adhesive, transparent book cover. You know, the kind you use for school books. And I bought some yesterday. So let's just give it a try. I have a feeling this is gonna look really ugly, but let's just see. So I made a video before about sticky notes. You may have seen it, where I was also doing brain dumps on sticky notes. And I think this confuses people a little bit about me, because there I talk about sticky notes, and here I'm talking about using notebooks, and I'm talking about different methods all the time. Well, these past few months I haven't been using sticky notes much, but I do use them when it feels right, and sometimes they're all I use. It just depends. And this was actually a problem for me before too. I thought everything needed to be done the same way. I thought I needed to have a system and I needed to follow that system and just do that every single day. And that created a problem for me, especially because of ADHD. I don't like doing things the same way with the same tools all the time. Like, I just got bored, you know? So now I imagine my system as having a little bag full of different methods and different tools that are helpful to me. And depending on the situation and how I feel, I pick one up and use it. And I don't force myself to use these things every single day. And I think this gives me some structure because I have these methods to fall back on while still giving me enough flexibility that I don't feel trapped by them. It allows me to breathe within the systems that I use. Like, because these things are supposed to be fun and enjoyable, and they're not something you're supposed to follow every day and then feel stressed because you skipped a day. Like, they're just helpful tools and that's it, and there's no need to give them more meaning than that. Like, because of the niche of my channel, I guess, you might think this is what my whole life is about and that I'm constantly thinking about notebooks and productivity systems. It's not at all. They're just things that I find very helpful and very fun and things that I enjoy talking about. But I do think that sometimes people put too much meaning into these things. Interesting. doesn't look as bad as I thought it would. Well, you can still see all these scratched parts, but at least it doesn't leave everywhere little pieces anymore. Now for the back side, I really don't know because I didn't think about what to do about this elastic. I can't cover that. I don't know what to do. But I also want to continue to be able to use this. Okay. I don't know how strong this book cover will be. Maybe tomorrow it will just come off. Maybe it won't stick properly to it. But for now it feels strong and it feels nice. I actually like it for now. I just had to cut here a bit badly because I couldn't fold it. But other than that, it seems good. That will have to do, I guess. I'm also going to do a line guide pencil board for this notebook so I can write in a straight line whenever I want to. So since this notebook is unlined, I kind of need it because I'm really not good at keeping my writing straight. But I actually think it's a good idea to have an unlined notebook for brain dumps because sometimes you just want to draw something, make a sudden mind map, or just let your brain do whatever it wants to without having to follow the lines. And one of you guys also suggested using the notebook in landscape orientation, which would help a bit with the whole not laying flat problem. I think a couple of other people have suggested that before too, so I thought, why not give it a try? So I guess I'll make the lines go in this direction, and maybe I'll also put lines in the back in the normal direction so I can use both ways if I want to. By the way, this doesn't mean that I will always use this line guide. I just want to have it if I need it. I think I'll go with about 7 millimeters for the line spacing, and I also want to leave a little bit of space along each side with a border line. And I also want to be able to add trackers for the tasks here easily too. For example, if I have a task here that's going to take 3 hours, I could draw 3 little boxes with each box representing an hour and then cross them off as I go. And to make it easier to draw those boxes, I'm also going to add a small grid on the right side right here. All right, that's done too. I don't think I did a good job because you can see all of these dots. But anyway, that doesn't matter. What matters is its function. That will help me quite a bit. Now let's get into the setup of the notebook. First, I'm going to write the month and the year I'm starting this. So August 2026. Oh, not with this pen, no. I've never actually used notebooks in this direction ever, so that will be an interesting experiment for me too. Right. Now I'll go through my other notebook and look at the other brain dumps that I already have and see if there are any tasks I wrote down that I still haven't done. And I'll add those here, and then I'll think through anything else I need to do and add those too. Let's start. Okay, here is the list. I haven't added some of the very personal stuff yet, you know, the stuff I can't really show you because I didn't want to cover them with a sticky note or something right now. I'll add them after showing you the notebook. And if something will have a deadline, I will write the deadline right next to it, probably here or here if there's any space. And the list will just run and there won't be any daily or weekly resets. I will just add to it forever. And when something is done, I will cross it off so my eyes will catch what's still open instead of scanning through completed stuff too. Actually, I did get the appointment. I just took this from my other notebook, but I actually did that. So let's cross that off. And I also did get the lamp yesterday. Yay! Okay, until this point, it all seems fine, right? But if you ever tried doing something like this, you will know that after a while, you can end up with a whole collection of things that you maybe want to do someday, things you feel like you should do, or things you just keep avoiding. And then you can be on page 40, and there's still something sitting on page 1 that you haven't done. So how do you deal with that? Because get a lamp and learn Spanish can end up on the same list. But one of those is something I actually do this week, let's say, and the other is just a nice idea that I had at some point. And eventually they can start to feel the same, like a task I'm avoiding looks exactly like a task I never actually intended to do in the first place. And then the whole list just starts feeling like one big pile of things that I should be doing. So I think it's important to separate those things. So what I'll do that I wasn't doing before is when I go through my brain dump once in a while, I will decide what actually needs my attention, what I want to do, and what I just want to keep somewhere for later. And for this notebook, I decided to use the back of the notebook this way for those maybe someday things. So if I have something like learn Spanish in a brain dump, but I know I'm not actually going to do it anytime soon, I can move it to the back instead of letting it sit there on page 1. Follow me through the entire notebook, you know. And that list at the back doesn't have to be permanent either. I can just go back to it whenever I want and decide that actually I do want to do something from there and move it into my active tasks. Or I might look at something and realize it was just a nice idea I had once and I don't care about it anymore. And in that case, I can just cross over it. And I think the same thing applies to feelings, ideas, and worries. Sometimes I will write something down and realize I actually need to explore it more in my journal, like this ADHD thing. I probably will write more about this later. And when I do that, I will cross this off from here. And sometimes an idea belongs in my creativity journal, and sometimes I just needed to get it out of my head, and once it's on paper, I can let it go and cross it off. So letting go of things is also part of the brain dump. The point isn't really to make a permanent record of everything that ever crosses my mind. It is to get it out, figure out what actually matters, and let the rest go and cross them off here when that happens so I can see what needs my attention more clearly. And for the pages where I've finished everything and moved to other places or crossed off or decide to get rid of, I'll probably cut the corner or do something like that so I can easily tell which pages still have things on them and which ones are done. So we'll see how this goes and whether I actually like having the maybe someday list at the back, but I think it makes sense to give those things their own place instead of having them mixed in with everything I'm actually trying to do. Alright, that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments what your experience with brain dumps has been. Do you like keeping everything in one place or do you separate them? And what do you think about this system? So thank you for watching as usual, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!